The Hangar Z podcast welcomes Deputy Nicholas Romano of the Broward County Sheriff's Office.
And so we have that misunderstanding first and foremost that some people want to say UAS is here to replace manned aviation.
Yeah.
It's not the same at all. What it is another air support tool. But first and foremost, it's that Venn diagram, right? It's that overlap.
Welcome to the Hangar Z podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts and partnered with Vertical Valor magazine. Today's episode was recorded on the floor of APSCON 2025 in Phoenix, Arizona at the Vertical Valor Hangar Z booth. Each year, the Airborne Public Safety Association presents awards in a wide variety of categories. We were lucky enough this year to record with a couple of those recipients, which includes our guest today. Deputy Nicholas Romano is a 25-year veteran of the Broward County Sheriff's Office and is the recipient of this year's Unmanned Aerial Systems Award. Nicholas serves as the UAS coordinator for his department and has firmly established himself as a subject matter expert throughout Florida. We discuss his tech background as an investigator, what drew him into the UAS world, the value of the UAS unit working under a manned air support unit, how UAS units are evolving, manned and unmanned integration, and what the future of UAS looks like in law enforcement. Thank you again for the support of the Hangar Z podcast. Check out the other podcasts on the Vertical Helicast platform, which includes the Real Rescue podcast, the Helicopter podcast, the Valor Flight Crew podcast, and the Vertical MRO podcast. Thank you to our sponsors, Spectralab, Robinson Helicopter Company, and Astronautics Corporation of America.
Welcome to the Hangar Z podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts. The Hangar Z podcast is the first and only podcast dedicated to promoting and exploring the personnel and equipment behind the missions in public safety aviation.
Still southbound, skidding to a stop. Stand by here. Looks like you're getting ready to bail. Heads up, guys, bailing. Okay, the guy, he's running through the house, jumping the fence, through the shotgun, through something out. Grabbing the shotgun. Don't go over that fence. Don't go over that fence. Grab the shotgun again. He is armed. Stay there. Hold your position.
It's time for your Heli Life giveaway buzzword. Listen up and remember this word because you'll need it to enter for a chance to win exclusive Heli Life gear. Ready? This episode's buzzword is NOTAM. Visit contest.verticalhelicast.com to enter the buzzword.
Welcome to the Hangar Z podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts and partnered with Vertical Valor magazine. I'm your host, Jack Shanley, and with me today is the creator of the Hangar Z podcast, John Gray.
Sir, good
John,
morning.
It's great to be here for another one on the floor.
Yeah.
And another host today is Jeff Ratkovich.
The Rat.
He's here.
Yeah.
Jeff is here.
Oh,
I've come out of
Yes.
You come out of your cocoon.
the big reveal.
Jeff, welcome.
It's good to be here, guys.
Yeah.
It's great to be here.
Good. And our guest today is an award winner here at APSCON, Nick Romano from Broward County Sheriff's. Nick, welcome to the Hangar Z podcast.
Good day, gentlemen. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh,
Yeah.
we're happy to have you.
Good to have you.
If you haven't figured it out, if you're listening and now watching, we're on the floor of APSCON 2025 here in Phoenix, Arizona. We've been doing some podcasts. We've had a lot of people coming by the booth here for Vertical Valor and Hangar Z, and we really had a good time. It's been fun, a fun week. So we'd like to get the award winners to come visit us, and we had Mike Sill on yesterday from Fresno County, and Nick's going to join us today. Nick is the recipient of the UAS award this year from APSCON, and so we'll get into that, of what that is and what you've been doing, but let's start. How's your week been, Nick?
So far, it's been great. It's a little warm, but
Yeah, a little bit.
it's kind of funny to have that guy from South Florida who comes in going, it's a little warm out here.
Yeah.
But,
It's dry. It's dry.
heat.
exactly. Yeah, I hear that. I don't understand it, but feel like it's still just hot. But it's been a great week. I mean, I can't remember the last time that I was at an APSCON that wasn't a great week, but we've gone through so much out here, along with everybody else. It's been a wonderful week so far.
Good. I mean, the UAS part of APSCON has grown each year. What are the changes that you've seen there since you've been coming to these?
So they've been trying to incorporate more on the education side. is what I've seen the most in offering a lot of those sessions and things like that to kind of bring that in, because it is a growing portion of that airborne mission. So I've definitely seen each year that class offering, the education offering to that side of the mission has really grown each time.
Yeah. We walked through the other day when we were dropping off magazines, and we were amazed at how many classrooms were dedicated to the UAS side. I mean, that used to be none, and then maybe one or two, and now it was like 6. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on over there. So that's good to see, because it's here to stay, and it's growing, and every department's experiencing it different ways. So the education part, I would imagine, is an important side to all of you that are in that field.
Absolutely, and it's growing so fast, right? So, I mean, you can come this year, but come back next year, and so much has changed in the space technologically, regulation-wise, and all of that. So keeping up is really important on this. It's not something that stays static.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah, the capabilities of the UASs now is just incredible. Just seeing what they're able to do with them, and drones as first responder programs seem to be taking off all over the country. So I think it's probably a good thing that the education level and the amount of classes being offered are increasing, as well as the technology, which is really what we've seen, I think, in the helicopter industry for a number of years now, is the same thing, and now you guys are seeing that growth as well. So it's exciting times.
It's been a big difference. I mean, even just going back a couple of years to Reno, you had like a few classrooms down one side of the hallway, and the rest was dedicated to the traditional mission of manned aviation. And to come in now, and it's that other half of those education hallways upstairs end up being dedicated to the unmanned mission.
I think the integration is important. We talk about it a lot. A lot of agencies are struggling with how to integrate their units together, and we talk about how similar the jobs are, right? As a TFO, your job is to communicate with the ground units and keep them safe, right? Same idea as an operator of a drone, but a lot of agencies are separating the tasks and seemingly make the drone units learn the lessons that we've learned long ago, and it shouldn't be that way. So these conversations and these types of training events where we bring both parts of the house under one roof, I think is really important. So thanks for joining us, and thanks for what you're doing.
Pleasure to be here.
Are you guys seeing personnel from like manned units attending some of these classes to maybe get educated on some of the capabilities and procedures and stuff like that?
So far, I haven't really seen much of that. You're usually having those individuals that are dedicated to it. But like you said, there's a lot of that split mission still going on across the country. I've had the opportunity to see quite a few programs, meet a lot of people. And in those split missions, you're finding exactly what you just described, which was they're coming in on their own going, hey, I was tasked with this, and trying to learn the lessons on their own. But now I have seen, and personally have gone as well, to taking my unmanned side, and I'm attending some of those manned offerings that haven't made it to UAS yet. So went to go see Clay when he was on the road doing the TFO course with the thermography certification and things like that. We haven't brought that quite over to the UAS side yet. So I think that's more what I've seen, is the unmanned side going to grab those lessons from the manned, which makes sense. Yeah. You guys have all been out here getting it done for years. So we can take those lessons with us.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's funny you say that, Jeff, because we walked into one of the UAS classrooms, and I look up and go, Chris, what are you doing here? And it's a pilot from LAPD, Chris Van Horn, who I talked about regularly. He doesn't like that I do, but I do, because he was a natural TFO. He's incredible. And he's now one of the instructor pilots and does a whole bunch of stuff. But he's in a UAS class. And it's because they've arrived. And, he wants to get that perspective of the manned-unmanned integration, which has to come in LA. That's a reality. That air support's not going away. UAS is arriving. As a matter of fact, this week they have introduced a program with some of the patrol divisions where they are flying like patrol missions, where they're up, flying for hours. And it was like, well, Chris is getting that perspective, because they're going to be asked, well, what about policy? What about this? And he wants to be educated on that to give a good answer. I was surprised to see him, but then once I thought about it, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, you gotta learn both sides. Hell, we talk about that all the time. You got to learn about K9. You got to learn about SWAT. You got to learn about the bomb squad. You got to learn about detectives as a TFO, as an air crew. Why would it be any different? As a matter of fact, it may even be more important to learn about UAS, because that, if you're not following the rules or you're not following procedures, could be deadly, so you want to learn about each other. I like that you said you went to Clay's. Well, I'm with you. Every drone operator should hear Clay's class, because that's what you're going to do at some point. You're going to do it. You're just in a different platform.
And that's what it comes down to, right? It really is that same mission, and to John's point, that started that, which was it's a very similar job to what a tactical flight officer is doing. And I think, there's a lot of misconceptions around UAS to begin with. It's my kid's got a drone, so I'm familiar with it. It's a little different. Platform sensors, as you mentioned, really capabilities are just growing exponentially with each particular airframe that comes out. And so, getting familiar with all of those regulations and safety, it's a lot.
It helps build the trust too.
It absolutely
I think from
does.
both sides. Yep. If a pilot goes to UAS goes to pilot classes, and you learn about each other, it's going to build that trust, saying, wow, they do have strict regulations, and as long as everybody follows the rules, it'll be just fine, and
Absolutely.
You can relax, trust each other, and if you relax and trust each other, you're going to accomplish the mission better.
Absolutely.
So is that a discussed goal a lot within the U.S. community about talking about the man part, or is that just kind of a side thing? How would you look at that?
Definitely discussed. I would say, however, though, in my personal opinion, underemphasized.
Okay.
Right? So that's one of the things that I love about the way my agency's doing things is I am here with our air crews. I am assigned to aviation full-time to oversee our drone unit operations, training equipment, all of that. Me being a member of the aviation unit builds that relationship from the start. And that's what you're mentioning, right? Is building that trust. Well, it's like everything else we do. It comes down to relationships. So much of it, right? Whether it's getting the chance to come out and meet and hang out with Jack, the guy who literally wrote the book on apprehending suspects, right? And getting a chance to be a part of all of that in the community, the more you bring that in, the more that knowledge base grows, the more that experience can be shared. And listen, having this mission in law enforcement at any point in time, that experience is what's needed, right? We don't take a guy out of the academy, put him in a car, and go have a good time with it.
Right.
I mean, we might have done that back in the 60s and 70s. There's a little bit of that, like, stay between these lines and call this guy if there's a problem. But we don't do that, and we all benefit from that exponentially.
Absolutely true.
Yeah, I feel like in a lot of ways we're doing what you're describing for drone operators. We're saying, hey, take this thing and go fly it with very, very little training, and we're expecting results. When I say we, I collectively as a community, I feel like I hear a lot of operators say very little training, very little experience, very little communication with their aviation units. Really weird. How do we get better? How do we change that focus? How do we unify these two parts of the house?
I think a big part is understanding, right? And we have a lack of understanding on what UAS is to begin with. So you think, hey, we'll have one department that comes out and goes, we really want to get these things for our traffic homicide investigators because they're going to do 3D renderings and they're going to be able to do measurements with this RTK technology. It's going to be great. It's going to save time, open roadways. And that's what that agency's goal is to integrate that into a workflow of a single unit. So what do? They grab the sergeant that's over traffic homicide. They go, hey, you're the drone guy now? Go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
And they take on the mission gladly and they put in the effort. They try their best, but they got a real job, right? So it becomes a side project. And we see that across the board, whether it's going to be a tactical operations unit, whether you have SWAT that goes, hey, we really want these so we can do the interior flight mission, right? Or you name it across the board. Crime scene wants to be able to take their aerial photographs of crime scenes, maybe do those 2D, 3D renderings, or orthos is what they're looking for. All this stuff. Or those smaller departments that go, oh, we don't have an air support unit, so we are going to do the air support mission for suspect apprehension, missing person searches, and all that. But the field grows so much, right? And so we have that misunderstanding first and foremost that some people want to say UAS is here to replace manned aviation. Yeah. It's not the same at all.
Yeah.
What it is another air support tool. But first and foremost, it's that Venn diagram, right? It's that overlap. Okay, can I take a UAS and go do a suspect search and a missing person search? I absolutely can. Mm-hmm. Is it the best tool for the job? Well, I guess that depends on what's available to you, right? So if you don't have an air support unit, yeah, it's amazing, and it's the best tool you are going to have. Mm-hmm. Where I'm at, We have a fantastic manned aviation unit that is on point for everything, right? Our hours are through the roof. They're on all kinds of calls. Their fines are ridiculous. Great. They're like 2 years in a row on the Vision Awards over here, right?
Yeah.
And so love our air crews. They're fantastic. But that also means they've got a pretty high workload.
Right.
And if you've only got one helicopter in service for that day, what about the backup on it, right? So now I start to look at it as that combination of missions. We'll back up the helicopter, and we'll also be able to perform all those things that you're not going to do with a helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You might have that one where you ended up taking a crime scene guy up and let him hang out the side to take some photos of something when he needed it for that one case, right?
Right.
Did it ever become a part of a common workflow? No, it's never been the thing. It's not fiscally responsible. It's not useful. It's, it is what it is. We had all these new capabilities to so many different missions. And so I think it starts there with just having that understanding of what the platform is, what it can be used for, and understanding that separation of mission. Do not call my unit when you're looking for that stolen vehicle.
Right.
I mean, I'll be more than happy to launch, get eyes on it, and let you know he was westbound, and we're done.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not what we're doing.
Right.
So, my man crews do their job, and we do ours. And then as you build that understanding and cooperation, you start to get that relationship going, and you start to understand how you split those missions.
Yeah.
We had a great one just the other day. Suspect, we are all on scene. Helicopter was busy on something. I ran out there. They ended up clearing and being en route at about the same time. So we get there on scene. I get my altitude clearance from the air crew, which is part of that safety thing and our SOPs. Get in the air. But the first thing you need to do is find a job when we're coordinating together. And real big to stress that in your training. But we've got a tree line where the individual was last seen. You've got water line on the other side, right? So you've got a canal. Don't believe that he crossed it. You've got ground on the other side, and you've got this thick, dense brush overhead. It's daytime. FLIR is going to be fairly limited capacity on a lot of things in South Florida when it's hot. A lot of solar loading, everything going on. Guess what? Immediately, because we have that relationship and that ongoing communication, UAS goes, takes water line. We're going to start searching under, right?
Yep.
Safest spot to be, and you have a job. So I'm going to see what I can see on the water line. You don't have to worry about the orbits. You don't have to worry about any other trees and all catching you for that search of the water line. See if there's a head popping out and see if you can see anything that you're not going to see from the overhead. Then you have your helicopter directly above, seeing if they can get those gaps on any signatures. They're going to be hidden in there. And then on the land side, K9 units are tracking.
Yeah.
It's literally what it's meant to do.
Yeah.
Right? We've got containment, although in a new technological form, right? We always talk about that perimeter formation, everything else. I think that's chapter 1. And
You read it a few times.
and very familiar, yes. But again, we now add in this containment aspect where you've at least got something buzzing on the other side. You're doing the search. You're coming together, and phenomenally, Dave, I think, was flying that mission. One of our tactical flight officers. He makes an impossible spot of the fleck of what should have been a cat, but happened to be the suspect because, luck. Dave will say skill. I think that's what we're supposed to say. And you watch these videos and you'll see the UAS right there on target with him having that containment on the side. You'll see the K9s come in, and that apprehension is successful and swift, and everybody gets back to business.
So what you're saying is we're going to see that video next year at the Vision Awards, I'm sure.
Oh,
right?
it was a very real conversation last night on our walk back to go.
Yeah, it sounds good.
You protect and defend. So do we. Astronautics' proven cybersecurity, connectivity, and upgrade solutions support helicopter OEMs and operators worldwide. When the mission matters, you need to trust that your avionics systems are secure, connected, and reliable because lives depend on it. Continue to protect and defend. So will we. Contact Astronautics at www.astronautics.com.
What you're describing is exactly what Clay talked about in our conversation on drones, the complementary abilities. And I think that's best case scenario, right? Talking to Phoenix, they're very impressive with the way their program's structured. You got the fixed wing operations up on top, you've got helicopter operations down below that, and then you've got drone operations down below that. All three of those things working in conjunction with the ground units, like what you're talking about, for the successful apprehension of a murder suspect. high profile incident, like that's gold. Like I think that's the standard we want to get to, and I see units like what you're talking about. This is what we want, but so many agencies are down here and trying to figure out, well, how do I make that happen? So this conversation is going to be gold for a lot of people.
It is.
Hopefully it does. Yeah. I think that's one of the big points too. Like I mentioned, is one of the things that I really give credit to the agency for doing in my agency is putting us in-house.
That's huge.
Oh yeah,
it's amazing. And for my sake too, right, is the education aspect. Our chief pilot's been there since, I don't know, probably 8 decades before I was born. I'm not sure. But, if I've got a question on anything.
He flew with Jack.
Yeah. I remember him.
one of the Wright brothers.
That's exactly it. He definitely, you got to be from North Carolina. That's the way those things go, But I have this wealth of knowledge for anything that I can do in this new space and to learn without even having to be here to get that stuff. And we build those relationships right there. My desk is next to all the pilots and all the tactical flight officers, and that's how we build those relationships.
Your incident described the word integration perfectly.
Yeah.
I mean, and Clay's given us incidents where it described the two tools integration perfectly, and it's increasing. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
We got a lot. I know I did. I got a lot of questions this week about that integration because it's coming up on podcasts and it's in articles and it's just being discussed, and that's really important because of what you talked about, the understanding, getting that understanding. Back to that understanding part, which I think you really nailed that, the understanding and how that's what needs to be emphasized. What do you think was the reason? Well, let me rephrase that. Was the speed of all this, did that interfere with that understanding? Because let's face it, drones came on the scene and it's like, boom. I mean, it really grew very, very quickly, and it was kind of ahead of even, for some people, it was ahead of the rules being even formulated.
Yeah.
Has the speed of this evolution affected that in your expertise?
Greatly. Absolutely. So we talked about where we're at. We didn't talk about where we started in my agency.
Yeah.
We started the drone unit under an administration command, which great people, wonderful intentions, separate, right? So we were fortunate enough to have one of our road patrol guys who saw the value of this, and we're going back to 2016, which is kind of like the very beginning, right, for a lot of this stuff. Makes us one of the older units. But he's on road patrol, but he's a rotor wing pilot. Commercially rated, CFII, European certifications too. A lot of expertise he brings to the table, sees the value in this, and decides he's going to start talking to people. He got support, started a unit. We took that expertise, it went into the building of it, but we didn't have a place for it. It started over there. So from the beginning, there's a bit of a divergence. So you are going to naturally get resistance, right? Whether it is a senior pilot who's like, why are you here to take my job? Not to mention any names.
That was pretty specific. I don't know.
Sure it is.
That sounded like a quote to me.
Well, but again, I can actually say that too. And when I get back there, he knows exactly who I'm talking about, and love him to death because we have that relationship. Like it's great, But again, it put a little bit of a hassle into it. And then how do we build the program? It was so fast where we're like, great, buy this stuff, get some guys. We got them tossed out there. We grew really fast.
Yeah.
And within the regulations that were there, it was a decent setup, but how do you select people? How do you come up with your processes, right? Most of our units are going to have something established with your aerial aptitude assessments or whatever it is that you're going to be doing. We went, hey, you can fly a drone for us. Go.
Yeah.
That was literally how we started.
Yep.
Right.
So we had a mention before about, like, how did I get started in this?
Yeah.
Well, that was how it started.
Right.
I had a captain that walked by and goes, hey, they're going to start a drone thing. You're going to fly a drone.
You're going to do it. Thank you, sir.
All right. But wasn't into those.
Yeah.
Don't have one.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. Right?
Right.
That's not the best way to build a relationship.
No.
Yeah.
But
I think
it was the speed. Things were happening fast. Everybody wanted to play kind of catch up and go, hey, we got to get in on this. They're doing it. We got to do it,
Well, I remember years ago when I was in Riverside, we had a round table with some local community folks and Cal Baptist University and stuff, their aviation program and everything. And it was because the FAA was playing catch up with the drone
Yes.
technology. There was no regulations out there. People are flying drones, toy drones, whatever, kids, whoever. And to where the FAA was like, whoa, hold on, we gotta regulate this. This is in the national airspace system. So I think it's just natural that, again, this technology comes on the market and everybody wants to run with it. And yet, we're playing catch up on the policy side of things, just like the FAA was doing. And, that being said, the integration part of it is, I think, what's the most critical. I know you two, and I've experienced it, orbiting a static situation, a barricaded suspect for hours on hours. I'm happier than, a pig and to have a drone that can, take our place.
Go park in this corner.
Once you get it contained.
Watch the back.
Once you get it contained and you can get some drones over it, and the aircraft can now leave and we can go take a break or, move on to something else that we can work.
Yeah.
And that's where, what you were talking about earlier about, kind of defining the mission. I mean, that's something that we've talked about for aviation units for years. Guys want to, and kind of the same way. It's like, hey, let's look into starting a helicopter program. Why don't you run with it? And this guy's like, oh, man, I don't know the first thing about helicopters, but okay, let's go do this. Let's go buy a 429. Well, is that going to be the right aircraft for your mission? Define your mission first, and then get the right equipment for that mission and develop your policy around that. That's the way to approach it and figure out what equipment's going to work for you. And so it seems like the unmanned side of things are, going through those kind of growing pains too.
It is so true. And I love that you said that, because that is a perfect example of relationship building. Yeah. My tactical flight officers know they get there on a barricade.
Yeah.
And they have the schedule of my on-duty folks that I make sure is in the hangar for working TFOs, that if they get a call that we should be on and not them, they have the freedom and the authority from our command as well to deploy the correct tool. Nice. And we will do that as well, where who wants to sit in a tight orbit for 2.5 hours?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like,
I loved it.
Everybody's favorite thing. Because nobody wanted to be able to walk for the rest of the day, right?
My neck liked it. My back loved it. It was invigorating.
Yeah, because they put in the new recliners.
I wish.
That's the new right seat leather and all that. I get that. But that's what it is, is that ability to go, I love having a UAS unit from the man side. When we can bring more of that, more of the I love this tool because here's what it does for us, and understanding that cooperation, because we will do that. What's a better tool? Right. Do I want to burn all that fuel, breaking it back, sitting in a tight orbit to watch a door?
Yeah.
I don't think we need that. We can save taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
We can save backs.
Yeah.
And also we can put back the asset back in service, right? Not everybody's LAPD with 17 aircraft in the fleet. We can't quite, put that up there. So it's amazing to see what we can get done with that type of thing.
Not to mention the noise pollution, right? How many residents call and complain at 3 a.m. when you're orbiting their house because their neighbor's barricaded next door or whatever, something similar, So there's so many benefits. The operating costs, like you brought up. You talked about this selection process briefly a second ago. I want to talk about that for a second. I'm sorry if I'm jumping ahead on your outline, but you brought it up, and
where is?
we're identifying the mission.
Page 17, I think it was on 17.
Yeah. The skills are very similar, like we talked about, to the TFO. What I think units and agencies should do is look and how does aviation select in their folks? What tasks are they doing that are similar to what we're doing, and how do we select for that? So how do you guys select? What do you identify as critical tasks to identify good candidates for that drone program?
So I got interviews coming up, so at least this will probably be out after I get that next round done. I don't want to give away too much.
Unless someone pays us enough.
But, exactly. But it's, I stole a bunch from the TFO selection to start off right off the bat.
Good.
Then I added things that I needed to make sure that we added, because while we are, of course, doing that camera work job, you're also flying. So it's increasing that workload, and it's adding a lot of challenges that people don't think about. We don't have tremendous ARS systems at this point in our UAS, so you've got to have some serious orientation abilities, right? You used to have to be able to pull out that map, find where you're going, and I know a lot of agencies will still say, nope, no mapping for you until you get signed off, you're going to look it up and get me there. Well, this unit has to do that. We're not there. We don't have that technology there yet. It'll be there shortly, I'm certain. But again, I need to add in that navigation capability of an old school airman that can do ground reference, that can make sure they have their awareness. And then you have that separation from the aircraft, right? If you're sitting in the seat and you're looking out your window, you've got a particular perspective. Once you start spinning that aircraft around and your orientation's not changing, are you an individual that has the perception capabilities to be able to do that? So I actually set out to find something that might help me measure that as a skill. And I did. I found a spatial awareness test that is out there that was used in some research to start administering that, just to see if people can do it, because that can be a real hindrance to you.
Yeah, it's tough.
So we've got some written tests like that. We've got some aerial aptitude tests that are the exact same thing that we give to tactical flight officers, viewed from an airborne aircraft, identifying a target structure as they move through, and those types of things. And then, of course, some things they don't need, right? Not worried about the swim test that a TFO has to do.
Yeah.
They're not crawling out of anything.
I don't know. After I saw those videos last night from Florida, I think everybody goes swimming on searches.
Right.
That was unbelievable.
That's why we're satisfied with our normal swim test you have to pass to get on to do it. But no escapes from upside down aircraft or anything. But that's where we started with adding in these written tests. They sit down, actually demonstrate a capability, and then also we all want to have something that you can actually look at, right? We don't want to just go to an interview and go, I like them.
Yeah.
Because there's some great interviewed people that I wouldn't trust to walk my dog, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
So now I've got numbers. Yeah. I've got some, at least you can do this, at least you can do that. We try to add in that simulator function as well. You don't need to be able to fly great, because that's a skill you can build. But if it just doesn't make sense and you can't yaw an aircraft without we're going to have some issues, right?
Yeah.
So you add in all those with the traditional interview, and one of the big things we put into it is an assessment of how well you read a situation and control your impulse on that. So a lot of my interview questions are geared towards safety.
Give an example. I like that.
So
what do you give us a specific that you might,
so
this will be after the oral.
Yeah,
so
it'll
good.
be fine. So funny enough, most of them that end up like a big chunk of those questions are geared towards decision making within a situation. And so I give all the information you need, because you are not required to have your remote pilot certificate before you get there. You don't need to be able to read low VFR charts, none of that kind of stuff. I'll teach it all to you in our course, but you need to be able to read the information in front of you and make an accurate decision. So I will provide, hey, you are on the approach to runway 9 at FXC. Already, and I'll give you the information, that you are in a zero grid of the UAS facilities map, and you cannot fly here without an emergency certificate of authorization as issued through the SOSC, the FAA, blah, blah, blah. What do you do? Right? So, okay, give me a response. And just from reading that, if I tell you exactly what you need an emergency certificate of authorization, should be a pretty easy answer.
Right.
Not everyone has gotten that.
Yep.
Because that one's supposed to be the gimme part.
Let me guess, you get we're the police. We just do what we need to do, right? Yeah.
It's funny you say that, because in general terms, a lot of those laws on the ground don't apply to us in emergency situations, right? So you take that understanding and you go to aviation, not understanding that aviation's a completely different environment, that the rules do matter in aviation.
Yep.
And then you're like, no, that's all good and well on the ground, right? You can run through red lights with your red lights and sirens on. You can break laws according to the emergency you're responding to, but you get up here and that can happen,
Thank you to our sponsor, SpectroLab. SpectroLab, a pioneer and world-leading supplier of high-intensity searchlights for all para-public operations. Visit www.spectrolab.com to learn more about our third-generation Night Sun series high-intensity searchlight. When reliability and performance is critical to your mission, count on SpectroLab Night Sun searchlights.
Right. And that's such a big one that you have to stress to individuals.
ATC doesn't care about your emergency.
Yeah, they don't care at all.
Never have, never will.
No. And they literally don't even care what you're up to. And I try to explain. I go, on that note, anytime I'm discussing with people, whether they're trying to apply for jurisdictional COAs or anything else, whatever's going on with it, I go, you don't talk to the FAA in law enforcement. Spend less time on what you're doing on the mission. They don't care if it's a homicide suspect. They don't care. Speak safety. That's the language of the FAA. That's the language of aviation. Right. And more of that culture, the better.
Yeah.
Right. And so first and foremost, that's one of the biggest things that comes through in being with manned. Right. So there's a theme here. But that's the culture we go with. And so on that example that I give these individuals, hopefully they nail that gimme part of the question, because the follow-up then is you've contacted the SOSC and they've denied you. What do you do now? Now I've given you a second one, and I'll give you an officer down situation. That's probably your scenario, right? Your buddy just got shot. Law enforcement. I can do what I want. It's exigency. It's emergency. We can do what we want. And the answer's still got to be, nope.
Can't do it.
And so it's...
Want to do it?
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Would love to.
We had a very similar scenario in our interviews for pilot trainees, and I mean almost word for word, other than it was ATCs telling you that you got to remain outside their controlled airspace, and then what would you do? And the reason why I said what I said was because we've had guys that were like, well, we're the police, it's an emergency, we're going to do what we need to do.
Too.
Yeah, I think everybody does. And it's like, no, now start thinking, what can I do to affect that situation that I can't get over? And that's where it's like, hey, start setting containment, start, getting additional resources and, all the things that we can do as an air crew from a distance to affect an arrest or whatever the case is, until we can get that clearance to get into that airspace.
Yeah. Again, you're used to the police car, hit your lights, blow the red light.
Right.
Nope. Still need to clear it into Bravo. That's not a thing.
You're going to get a phone number to call.
For sure.
Unless you're Tim Tucker, then you tell them to call you.
That's right. One of the best lines we've ever heard on this podcast is, no, you take a number. Oh my gosh, Tim was great. That's good. Anything else in training that we want to hit now while we're here?
Well, there's so much to talk about. It's really interesting. Talk about kind of to your point earlier when manned aviation programs were first launched, trying to figure out how to make this happen. They were like, oh, go take this helicopter, and you had a lot of single pilot operations. The pilots, also the TFO. In a lot of ways, the drone community is there by necessity. But you look at the tasks that you're asking that operator to do. You're going to fly this thing, and you're going to talk. You're going to use a sensor. You're going to do all the things that we've learned on the man side. It probably isn't the most efficient way of doing it. So what's your thought on breaking the pilot responsibilities away from the TFO responsibilities, and how would that look on your side?
So it's a challenge. So obviously we know high workloads are problematic. We come into an even higher workload because we don't have a switch to step on, right? So you're coming off your controls to make every radio transmission. So that's tough.
We've talked about this.
So
that's why we're laughing. Yeah,
but it is. It's one of those things, right?
So it's a big deal.
Yeah. So
it's
now
a big deal.
I've got a remote pilot that's out there doing this mission, and he is TFO job on the screen, doing his search, making his find. And my new guys find this out the first search warrant I give them, where they get a runner, and they thought they were doing fantastic, and all of a sudden, 3 people pop out that back door when SWAT hits the front, which who knew would be a thing? And all of a sudden, they're trying to track multiple targets, stay on target, determine aircraft orientation, path of travel in a district I sent them to that they've never been to before, get on the radio, which means they can't stay on their camera controls or their aircraft controls to communicate direction of travel and information. Then they don't know the streets because I didn't listen when he told me I needed to make sure that I had at least ground references prior to I have to put some effort in here. Get a little bit flustered there. Now, in all fairness, that's why everybody in the unit has to go do warrants with me before they're signed off to do them alone. So I don't leave everybody hanging. Yeah. But I love when that happens to them the first time, because it is that, and they realize, clean up an aisle too. They're going to have to manage it. And so what we do is, if possible, we'll utilize those visual observers on everything for aircraft safety again. And one thing I can tell you is that is the biggest stress of my instructions and the things we do in our unit, safety. So we will have that dedicated visual observer on those missions. I may try to relieve communication tasks to them as long as they have somebody that's there, right? We make every effort to send 2 operators to a call if available. So as we're growing back out and all, it's not always available, but if it is, that means you have somebody who's doing your job too. And it brings me the benefit of extra batteries, extra equipment in the event of an aircraft failure, any of that, but also somebody that knows it does it and you can just start talking to him and letting him or her do that radio communication for you. That falls last, right? Aviate, navigate, and we'll put the communicate at the back. And so if we can do that, we'll try and push that off the back end to decrease some of that workload, because just by the nature of it, it's a high workload.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they haven't come up with like a headset and, foot switch or all that technology
That's
out
why
there.
we were
like,
laughing, because we've talked about this and going,
right.
This is simple.
Yeah.
This is really simple. And why aren't they doing that? Because I've been out with drone people and I watched that happen and go, that is awkward.
Yeah.
I mean, you're coming off the controls, off of your view to key a mic. I mean, some people are actually going up to lapel mics to talk. And I'm like, it needs to be right there, But
on that note,
they
do have options. And so I can tell you that I needed to find a solution. And that is the story of me handling this unit, is just coming up with things. And it's great because I can never break a policy if I wrote it. But what I found was you have you've got headsets with boom mics that have PTTs that are big and easily accessible. So if you get one of those, have a PTT mounted right here and your headset on, all it takes is a simple move and you're keying up like that. And because I don't have a static floor always, and we're moving to maintain line of sight, communication connection with our C2s and all that. So that seems to be that. It's something where I can do it without. And even on older models that we had, found a wireless PTT switch that would go right up here. So I can pass gimbal controls and go right to that and not come off of it. So working on trying to find solutions, trying them out myself a lot of times to see what works. But it's still tough, still a high workload that people don't really realize.
Yeah.
My understanding of what you just described with the one person and two people operating was that you can do, everybody in your department can do it alone. That you can do the communication, the flying, and all that alone. But that if you have to, you like to bring them into the picture to split the workload. Is that the way you would word it, or does it depend on the incident, where you are, and that sort of thing?
I'd probably provide a little bit of clarification on that. Is there's always going to be two. I have a few exceptions if you're conducting missions that aren't task intensive. If you're doing crime scene photographs, and you're going to be maintaining line of sight on it and things like that. So no visual observer necessary on that. Anything active where you're conducting a search and into your screen,
it's going to be
you're going to need a visual observer there.
Gotcha.
But your visual observer doesn't have to be another remote pilot. That's where it comes down to it. So
what's their job? What's their primary function at that point?
The sole function of a visual observer is to maintain line of sight on the aircraft and ensure airspace safety.
So they're looking out at where that drone is and saying, "Hey, you are aware that there's a tower. There's antenna towers in Florida. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
That you're aware of this, or you're hey, you're getting a little high, or hey, it's leaving my sight. That's the kind of thing they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing we want to know is air traffic, right?
Oh, okay.
That's what we're worried about. If I crash my drone into, I don't say this, but I mean, if one of my guys ends up hitting a tree and falling to the base, the base of the tree, laying in a branch, not great.
Yep.
Don't care. Not too concerned.
That's right.
Right.
Nobody got hurt.
Safety. Yeah. So that's the main concern is where's the air traffic at? Listen, my county, if you want to take a look at our sectional, we have Boca, Pompano Air Park, Fort Lauderdale Executive, Fort Lauderdale International, down to North Perry before you hit the Bravo down to Miami, just getting out of county, right?
Yeah.
Not an inch of the East Coast there in my county is uncontrolled.
Wow.
So you've got to go out to a few of our western communities that we can get outside of the controlled airspace, but it's busy. Yeah. Where's everybody want a flight train? Florida. It's the place to go, right? Because even when you get afternoon thunderstorms, wait 10 minutes and the weather will be back to VFR.
Yeah.
It is. It's so funny to see how quickly that changes. You're like, oh, is it IMC? I don't know. Hold on, I'm going to run to the bathroom and we'll check, right? But that really is. That's the whole goal of that, and that's why we've got a lot of BV law stuff coming out in there where people are going to start flying beyond visual line of sight and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not really running for it because, again, that safety culture is my number one thing. And we're dealing with a lot of newer airframes right now in Florida because they're now compliant. We're not using some of the things that have been around for a much longer period of time, and I want to make sure we put the time in, to really start to trust the airframes.
That seems to be one of the things in the UAS community that has a wide variety of rules. I've been around people that say, well, it's just me. there will never be somebody else with me when I'm operating this drone because of where I work and deployment and things like that. And then there's others that I've been around that say, we're required to have two, and you do the talking, and I'm doing the flying. And that was interesting to watch. And then there's everything in between. The ones that said, oh, well, I will always have someone with because that's our policy or procedure, and they do the talking and the navigation. I just operate it. What I noticed was that they haven't figured out yet how to really communicate like we did inside an aircraft. That was one of the first things you had to learn as a TFO. I better be able to talk to my pilot, tell them what I need, and be able to do it clearly and concisely, and not take a lot of time and not have to look at them to do it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it was like it's a big learning curve for a lot of them. And that's where the situation you have, where you have manned and unmanned under the same command in the same facility, that solves a lot of that because you're around it. You can see it and hear it and talk about it at lunch and over coffee and some of that's probably a lot easier. But a lot of agencies don't have that luxury or haven't gotten to that point yet. Do you see that to be true as well as you talk to other UAS people, that there's a wide variety of procedures in that 2 or 1 person crew, or so to say?
I'd like to say no. I mean, the culture of crew resource management should permeate throughout aviation.
Yeah.
And again, focusing on UAS, it should be looked at more as aviation than, okay, we'll learn what we need to learn. CFRs have a lot to say about that because there is that without the waivers and without making sure that you do things legally, you're going to need to maintain line of sight, and you're not doing that buried in mission.
Yeah.
Right? So I have questions about anybody that's like, nope, we just run around and do what, okay, great. Or just relying on the fact that low-flying student pilot in a Robbie isn't at 200 feet? Because happens a lot.
Yeah.
So I'd like to say I don't really see a lot of it because...
Well, especially in your region, it would be insane.
Yeah.
I mean, in your region, definitely. The people I've seen say that, they are
all Class G, middle of nowhere.
I mean, there isn't an airport within 100 miles of some of these people, and they're deputies, and they're out there, and it's them. I was like, well, I get it. I get why they do that. They don't have the personnel to get to, much less somebody trained up. But like you said, the rules, if you're following strict and you have the air traffic like you described, you have to have that second person. It would be crazy not to.
Yeah, it is. Now, I will say at least technology is improving, and the FAA is starting to adapt to a lot of that too. Some of the waivers they're issuing now for beyond visual line of sight flight and things, they're allowing below 200 feet and with an ADS-B receiver in the aircraft only, because at least at that point they've determined, hey, 200 and below, very low risk of collision. You're going to have all your fixed wings above 500 at least, and rotors are at least going to be minimal. So they're starting to progress, but that goes to what we discussed there, which was it's changing every day.
Yeah.
If you wanted to be able to fly beyond visual line of sight just a short time ago, it was great. Pay somebody to stand on a roof and stare at it, and then we'll give you a little bit beyond that, and it moved to, hey, as long as you spend $2 million on this radar and detection system, then you can do it, right? But don't worry, it's only like $1 million a year in maintenance. And you're like, I'm just going to fly this thing. I don't think we have that much money. But otherwise, maybe we're looking at manned aviation, right?
Yes.
So it's constantly evolving to get that in there. So I like to see that at least I'm hoping that we continue to really, really push that safety culture. Make it an aviation asset and not a police asset. Right, and that's the mindset I'd like to see changed. Benefit we have here, which I'm proud of.
Thank you to our sponsor, Robinson Helicopter Company, the choice for unrivaled safety and reliability, so you can accomplish any mission with confidence. For more than half a century, Robinson has been at the forefront of the helicopter industry. From the R-22 to the R-66 turbine, Robinson makes helicopters accessible so more people can accomplish more missions. Climb higher. For additional information, visit www.robinsonheli.com.
Yeah. Aviation first, police second. We lived by that.
Yeah, exactly.
We talked about it earlier about how, you can't break a rule and say, well, it was an emergency. What kind of emergency? Oh, and it was an officer down. The FAA doesn't care about that.
Yeah.
You know, so we had to deal with that as helicopter pilots all the time. And I know I can speak for this. I bet both of you can say it too. We had new people come in command positions that didn't know what FAR stood for, and they just thought you could do anything. Well, you can do that.
Yeah.
No, we actually can't. We want to do it, but we can't because of this, and this. Well, it's not in the police manual, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, it's not. It's in this real thick thing called the FARs, and there's a gazillion rules in there that we have to follow that have nothing to do with police work.
Yeah, well, and it's like command staff cops that come in and go, but I thought we're public use. You're like,
Yeah.
that's not. Yeah, it's not. That's not.
Exactly.
That's not what that means.
Exactly.
We've talked about the benefits of integrating the aviation units with the unmanned units, all the benefits you described. You talked about, the very beginning of your career as an operator, being head of the drones, and here you go. So I imagine at that point you were not under the aviation house. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. Yeah.
So for the agencies that find themselves in that position, they go, hey, we need to unify our houses. What worked for you? How did you guys get from being a separate program to being a unified program?
The vision was there. They began moving it to Aviation Command. Just seeing that, okay, we found some admin budget stuff to be able to make some purchases to get this thing going, but now we need somebody to be able to do that and get it there. So the agency themselves and the individuals involved and our Aviation Command as well, everybody kind of saw it, and they just put it in place to make the move, to go, this is going to be the command that you go on to. And so for us, we talked earlier about how rapid it grew, right? That was actually a big problem for us on the skill level, on the mindsets and all of that. We grew to over 40 some operators right away, and we had people that were voluntold. We had some of those kind of things. So it wasn't necessarily the ideal setup. I would say some people accidentally got chosen that worked out, because here I am, right? But when we made the change in Florida and had our statute change, we had to throw everything we had out, essentially. And
talking about the laws requiring
Yes. So I guess if you'd like, I can address that on that.
Yeah, if you could
portion.
just summarize that real quick.
Our statute changed to say that we can't utilize any UAS that has any critical components manufactured in any country of concern, and that we had to purchase something from an approved manufacturer. And we had a sunset deadline on that, and that meant that all 75 aircraft in my fleet just were not going to be a thing anymore. And so we were set to have to find a new solution, right? So when we did that, we're obviously not going out and buying 25 or 75 compliant aircraft first day. That's a huge financial burden compared to the cost of what we did have, right? Because some of the things we had were things that we would use for like an interior mission, tiny little things, $500. As opposed to your cheapest option on a compliant U.S. made or allied country made, $25,000 could be what you're looking at for a replacement airframe. So at that point, we were scaling way back, and that gave us a chance where my pitch was, we're starting over. We're going to put these selection processes in place. We're going to choose some people that want to be here and that have the skill set, or at least the competency to develop the skill set to be able to get that mission done. And so that we did that all at the same time. Right after we got to Aviation Command, we did a refresh. Everybody had to go through the new process. And even the guys that were in my unit before, they were like, well, but if we were already in it, I go, I think you're missing the point.
Yeah.
I go, put in an application.
Yeah.
And to that point, out of 40 some operators, I think I had two or three that put in for the unit again. I go, well, that kind of says something.
It does.
Yeah, So much happier with the way things go, but it makes it a little difficult, because we're still in the middle of building back.
So you took an opportunity there to make your unit better for the future, even though it was quite a hit.
Yeah.
Equipment-wise, I'm sure, you're looking at all that investment in those 40 and going, poof, overnight.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But you saw it as also as an opportunity to refresh and start anew, and we see the future, and the future is here right now. Let's do it right from the beginning.
Yeah.
So that ended up being a positive for you, is it?
Doing the best to turn it into a positive, right? Because
it's still in a work in progress, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, again, here I am. When we first got rid of them, the way that our legislature did it was they said, hey, you have to choose an approved manufacturer.
Yeah.
They gave us a list of 5 manufacturers. They took that list from the DoD Blue list that was published at the time, which was, now we're going to 2022 when they give us this option, and these were all aircraft that were manufactured in 2017, 2018. Technology doesn't change in that time, right? So you kind of look and you go, what? This is what I got to choose from? What are we doing here? Like, nothing against the manufacturers, except for 1 or 2 of them. But, but that they didn't know. The legislature just goes, I don't know. People up at the federal level said these are good, and they kind of missed the point.
That was the first mistake.
Oh, yeah, right? But they also missed the point of that, too, is that blue list wasn't meant to be a list of options. It was meant to be a pre-approval fast track. Like, we already did the work on these if you wanted them. But, again, it is what it is, as is the story of UAS into the space now. It's not always going to be something that people get. So they gave that as our options, and that caused a little bit of a thing in the command there, because they came to me and they go, okay, so what are we picking off that list? I was like, well, this is the one we're going to go with, but like, all right, how many are we going to be? I was like, oh, these are a lot more expensive. I go, can I have 3? They were like, no. 3? Well, if they're that much, buy 26.
Oh, my gosh.
They're not good. Something's going to change.
Yeah.
And this is another credit to my entire command staff and how great they have been, which is what keeps me happy. A little bit of a back and forth, I'm not going to lie. Like, they kind of went, no, I think you're going to do 26, and here's the paperwork. And I go, all right, it is. I did what I was told. But they kind of came back, and they were like, so really, you just want 3? I go, yeah. Trust me, I'm going to put in the work. I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to talk to who I can. I'm going to be involved. Something's going to change. They're like, all right, well, what's going to change? I go, I don't know. I can't tell you what's going to change, but I have confidence if you have faith. And three's what they pulled the trigger on. They actually listened to me, which, again, you don't find that a lot of places.
Yeah. I was just going to say, Nick, you are really lucky, man. Now I know what you're talking about, how happy you are. That's so just so we're clear, the upper commands that they're making financial decisions and the final decisions, listen to the actual expert that is going to be operating this equipment.
Guy on the ground.
God bless America.
Talk about government operations.
Yeah, made it all the way up. And they were like, yeah,
I love a good fairy tale.
Yeah, I know, but I know.
Like this.
True, Jeff.
It is fantastic.
It sounds true to me. He's very credible. That's amazing.
It did, and it worked out, and they put a lot of faith into me. My entire command staff does. It's so impressive to see, because you don't find that, and when I know that, and it is literally all the way up. Like, I actually have great relationships. My lieutenant's here with me. We're hanging out. I love the guy. He's great. My captain, she's super entertaining. Like, my favorite. But they all listed the majors here too. He's a great guy. Love him, and they go, we don't know. You tell us if it sounds crazy. Maybe we'll ask somebody else a question, but. Yeah. You seem to know what you're doing. Wow. And they kind of run with it. So they did on that one. And they were like, their first answer, of course, was, this is your full-time job, right?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, but just give me time. Yeah. So we did. We met them. We met every mission set we could with only 3, running around ragged for a bit.
Yeah.
Put in the work, joined groups, talked to people, got on this. It changed. They now changed it. Approved manufacturer now has a definition. It has to meet a list of security concerns, and it opened it up. A lot, so that now I had more platform options.
Yeah. The clue should have been to them when they said, no, you're getting 26, and you said, no, 3. I mean, nobody does that. Right?
Yeah.
You just say, I'll take them, we'll figure something out.
Usually.
No, you were being not just fiscally responsible, but you were giving them reasons that, hey, things are changing rapidly here. Just trust me on this. And the fact that they trusted you is just so encouraging. That's great.
It is a great fairy tale. I swear it's a true story. This is not a fishtail. It's not a there great. I was.
I hope others learn from this that it can be done. And it benefits. It will benefit you long term for sure.
It definitely can. Like that is one. If you do have somebody that actually says, "Here's the thing," like that should be a red flag to anybody. If they say, "No, please don't give me money,"
yeah,
all right. We'll listen to them, right?
Yeah, there's a reason for it.
And for us, it went even further because again, I joined some groups, did some things, talked to some people. I put a lot of time into this because if you give me a task, I'm gonna put the effort in.
Yep.
And fast forward, we ended up getting a state grant towards our equipment because one of the things that happened is we mentioned those 75 aircraft in our fleet, right? And so they're in a hangar or in a closet in the hangar. And that was the next question from command staff going, all right, well, I got to buy even these 3. Can't we trade these in? I go, yeah, but pennies on the dollar, not really worth anything. I don't like the idea. That's one you're definitely not going to listen to, right?
Yeah.
Well, apparently the response was maybe we should just trade those in. I go, I don't want to. Can we not, please? And they were like, what are you going to do with them? I was like, I'm going to leave them in the closet. What do you mean?
Yeah.
I go, I just want to leave them in the closet. And when I talked to them a little bit, it went all the way up, some meetings with command staffs and all, and they go, well, what are they actually worth? I go, hey, I got the numbers. I did the thing. Again, I'll do the work. I was like, here's what we're talking about. And they go, that's not a lot of money for the money we invested. They go, all right, leave them in the closet for now. What do you have? I go, I don't know. Something's going to change. All right, see if they listen. They did. They stayed in the closet. We ended up getting a grant program out of the state, which was to reimburse impacted agencies from the legislation change.
Oh, baby. Wow.
And again, a lot of that goes to the group, floor coordination group that I joined there. Great group of folks. That's how I got involved with them because it's a subset in drone responders there in Florida, and they really I jumped on with them because they were such a good resource in navigating all these law changes and the equipment and stuff, and they really did put in the effort towards trying to get this for everybody.
Yeah.
So fast forward on that, and that grant required you to still have your aircraft to turn in.
Mm-hmm.
So if we had traded those in, wouldn't have gotten a dime.
Not everybody had a closet full of drones.
No.
Some of them threw them in the trash.
Yeah.
I'm sure they did.
Oh, yeah.
And said, well, we
Once
don't
the
want
rain, shoot
liability.
these babies up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you had a lot of
that's
trade-ins that happened, too.
Sure.
Where you're like, let's get what we can out of it, right?
Yeah.
Well,
What'd you do with the drones? We donated them to the Cops for Kids program.
Yeah, right? It is. So, but it was amazing to see that turn around, too. So it was another time where they listened, they trusted, and turn around, and I was like, yeah, I got some money. And it was a lot. I had the most in the state.
Wow.
So I'm not
Good
sure
for you.
FDLE liked hearing about me because I was like, I'm showing up with a van full of drones, folks. They were like,
In a G-Wagon.
we ended up having. I had to take a Sprinter van. They actually all got turned into an FDLE office. And,
You like the Saudi prince, all the gold chains sneaking out.
ready to go. So, but the nice thing is that because of that trust and because of that effort and because of everything that went through and my command actually going, all right, we're gonna trust you on this one too.
Yeah.
It fully funded the purchase of everything we have now.
Wow. Good
So,
job.
That's awesome.
Talk numbers. What's the number goal you want to get back to? We know where you started, and then that went away, and now you're starting from scratch, and you got 3, and now you're getting what do you have right now, and what's the goal to get to?
That one's a tough answer, right? Because as a person who does, I'm the only full-time person, and that's because my job is to run the unit.
Right.
Handle all the training, do everything, and I do run calls all day as well.
Right.
So I think we're going to get to the need for full-time folks, which would require a lot less because they're full-time. Right now, all of my folks are collateral duty.
Right.
So I need more. And I think long-term, it would be great to be able to see people that are meeting that mission set on a regular basis. They're the available asset. They're there for all those other units that are using it and all. And then you have collateral duty to be able to do some of those response things as well and just to get that asset out there. But it's hard to put a number on it.
Okay.
Because
That's fair.
It's going to grow with the need. So all of these mission sets we talk about, people forget how big that gets because you start to get to not just outside but inside. So you've got interior missions. You've got the Overwatch mission with SWAT, the interior mission with SWAT. We serve a lot of warrants in our county.
Yeah.
We are busy. Our SWAT teams are amazing with the times that they put in and how capable they are. And we support them on everything that we can. So the staffing for that is there. But then again, traffic homicide, crime scene, response to calls for service, backing up the helicopter, the missing person search. We're a big county. We're a busy county. I'm more focused on how many qualified applicants I get than how big I want to get.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
That way you know you're going to get that quality at the end.
And that's what we're hoping for. You know, we're fortunate enough to be in a good position with equipment right now.
Yeah.
Without coming out of the county budget, and I have more aircraft than I have people by quite a bit at the moment.
How does Broward County do this? Does your SWAT team have their own little drones, and within the SWAT team they operate them, or are you going out and doing that?
We're doing it.
You are.
Yeah.
Is that it? Let's talk about future. And if you had a magic wand,
hold on.
would you want SWAT guys to be part of your cadre, that they handle the SWAT stuff, or do you like the fact that it's kind of separate? You come to support them.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Hangar Z podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more stories that promote the personnel and equipment behind the missions in public safety aviation. Lastly, stand by for a message after a word from our sponsors. Cheers.
Thank you to our sponsor, SpectroLab. SpectroLab, a pioneer and world-leading supplier of high-intensity searchlights for all para-public operations. Visit www.spectrolab.com to learn more about our third-generation Night Sun series high-intensity searchlight. When reliability and performance is critical to your mission, count on SpectroLab Night Sun searchlights. Thank you to our sponsor, Robinson Helicopter Company, the choice for unrivaled safety and reliability, so you can accomplish any mission with confidence. For more than half a century, Robinson has been at the forefront of the helicopter industry. From the R-22 to the R-66 turbine, Robinson makes helicopters accessible so more people can accomplish more missions. Climb higher. For additional information, visit www.robinsonheli.com. You protect and defend. So do we. Astronautics' proven cybersecurity, connectivity, and upgrade solutions support helicopter OEMs and operators worldwide. When the mission matters, you need to trust that your avionics systems are secure, connected, and reliable, because lives depend on it. Continue to protect and defend. So will we. Contact Astronautics at www.astronautics.com.
Thanks for listening to the Hangar Z podcast. We really enjoyed our conversation with Nicholas Romano. He is a very dedicated professional and a well-deserved recipient of this year's APSA UAS Award. Manned and unmanned integration is something we will continue to talk about on the Hangar Z. Drones are here to stay, and the numbers in law enforcement grow each and every day. The more we learn about each other's operations, the more effective we will be, and that increases safety dramatically. Congratulations to Nicholas Romano on receiving this award. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us a review. We appreciate your continued support. Stay safe, and we'll catch you the next time on the Hangar Z podcast.